like stare right down the barrel.
Yeah.
And you just sit with it. You're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to make it go away. You're not trying to solve for it. You are only sitting. Connection goes from the outside in. So your connection to her, whether she's here or not in physical plane, doesn't actually, it is showing you what it means to be a man, and it's all performative and achievement focused. So what happens to the man who's not performing? Because men are not given spaces to surrender. And I don't mean submit.
In the world of entrepreneurship, in the world of just surviving being a man nowadays, you have to be able to kind of dance that line. And you see men burying their needs in living vicariously through video games or, you know, the hobbies and such. And you hear about it all the time. And, we can dive more into the concept of men unaliving themselves in a little bit, but it is absolutely a tragedy whenever it happens, and we're reaching wild numbers that we need to start controlling, because men oftentimes are either not reaching out to their brothers because they don't feel supported, or they're not reaching out to a woman because for whatever
They don't want
reason.
the judgment.
Right. And Brandon and I have discussed this before. However, we think a little bit differently. I think we're getting more to being in alignment.
I think we're having more clarity on
Right.
what your opinion or what your description of this topic is versus
Yes.
mine. And it is in more alignment than I think we initially thought.
Agreed. I personally avoid crying in front of a partner. I have seen many times where I've been in a relationship where if something happened and I got emotional, especially on the sad end, shortly thereafter, the relationship fell apart. And in the relationship that I'm currently in, I was concerned because we put my dog down that I had for 12 and a half years, my service dog, my best friend, and I broke down in front of her and I cried. And then I gutted it. And even today, something reminded me of that dog. And I was like, babe, can we talk about something? And she's like, what? And I was like, no, just anything. I'm thinking about my dog. And she's like, okay, hey, so this person that to take me off of that.
I might suggest when that happens that you actually sit with it. So compassion, the actual definition of compassion is to sit with. When we run away from the intensity of our feelings and our emotions, it doesn't go away. It actually keeps it and intensifies it. And so if you can, when you're having that moment, you just sit down, close your eyes, and go all the way into it. And instead of creating a narrative around it, where now you're telling yourself stories about it, right?
Right.
You can let yourself really feel the pain, and you can experience it dissipating as you just face right into it. Like stare right down the barrel. Yeah. And you just sit with it. You're not trying to fix it. You're not trying to make it go away. You're not trying to solve for it. You are only sitting with it. And by doing that, you shine a light on it and it removes its power over you.
But I think to me, it's not necessarily a power that I want to have, that I feel that there's a power over me. It's something that I don't want to address while I'm sitting down having lunch, right?
Sure.
And so the mitigation of exposure to me is why I'm going, let's talk about something right now, please. I just want to talk about something.
It only takes about 90 seconds for it to work through your body.
Fair. And I don't want to have that experience as I'm sitting on a patio at a restaurant.
It's also okay if you just don't want to. Right?
Yes.
But then we're saying that.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. And that there's power in that too. Because you're making a conscious choice to not process it and to not move through it in that moment. Mm-hmm. And that is also your prerogative. You can only do what you're ready to do. You can't rush healing. So if you're not ready in that moment to sit with it, then you don't. Right? But it's saying it. It's I'm making a choice not to, not I can't. I won't.
Yeah.
And by taking that autonomy and that sovereignty, you're actually owning it. And that is really empowering. That is really affirming. That doesn't disempower you. It actually reinforces the commitment that you've made to yourself, because you're honoring what you want in that moment, not making yourself victim to this other thing that you just can't do.
Right. And I'm not saying that I'm unable, right? I'm saying in that moment I am choosing out of doing that. It is not an issue for me to sit down with those feelings. We put her in a massive pot and we buried a rose bush over her, and she's growing me roses right out in the backyard. Absolutely miss that dog, but I focus on the fact that I was blessed of having her for 12 and a half years and not the loss thereof. Right.
Yeah. And connection goes from the outside in. So your connection to her, whether she's here or not in physical plane, doesn't actually change.
Yeah.
Your connection will always be there so long as you choose to have that connection. That bond will never go away.
Well, and it's
so long as you don't want it to.
I go back to one of my favorite quotes, and as cheesy as it sounds, it comes from Winnie the Pooh.
Love.
And it is, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Had her for 12 years. Absolutely blessed. I will never forget that dog. And we put her in a planter so that when we move, we are absolutely taking her with us. And I was blessed. I'm not going to sit and regret. I'm not going to sit and go, well, I don't have her anymore. Woe is me. Instead, no, I was blessed to have this amazing creature that taught me so much about life and about myself. She literally saved my life. When I had her, I was undiagnosed with diabetes and I had no idea. I thought I just had depression. I was staying in my house for literally like 3 or 4 days at a time because I had no energy, but I had all the symptoms of depression except for the actual chemical imbalance at the time. And so I get this dog who's supposed to be my service dog, and all of a sudden, now I'm obligated to take her out and take her for a walk a couple times a day. And then I go, all right, well, I'm out of the house. I might as well go live a life. But I was circling the drain, and that dog saved my life. So, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard.
I'm writing that down. So I teach a class called Uncommon Sense, and one of the classes in there is all on logic. And in logic and rhetoric, there's a stage where it's just focus forward. There's also a component that too, right? You don't want to sit and ruminate constantly also in the past where you're just going in this psychological, emotional loop.
Right.
One of the ways that you can get yourself out of the loop is just to make a decision that you're focusing forward and that you're moving along. And moving along versus moving on, right? That you're acknowledging the journey, the path, the forward motion, without being stuck ruminating in the past, but still appreciating what you've had
and moving
and what it meant to you.
Moving on kind of denotes that it's something that has changed everything for you, right? Or it's something that you're never going to get over, but you're suffering through. Moving along means that it didn't stop you, and it's there. It's a part of you now. But how beautiful is that? What it has made you now. I mean, when I met you, I was instantly like, that's a person I'm like, I want to talk to her more. Like, and you carry that energy about you where it's not anything except like, the way that you talk to people, you give them your attention, and there's all these things where we met. There was all these things going around, and we're both just locked in, having like a solid conversation, and semi-celebrities and celebrities are walking by, and we're just like, yeah, whatever you were saying. And it was a wonderful conversation. And I was like, I really want her on the podcast, and you can ask Brandon. I was like, dude, met somebody. We have to have her on. You are actually our first female guest.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Eddie has been fairly, I won't say anti having women on the podcast, but this has not been that space. And we've had conversations about some women to bring on, and ultimately the result has been no. He came back to me, he's like, I'd like to revisit that. Cool, you got my full support. Let's go.
I love it. Well, thank you.
If I may interject.
Thank you for inviting me into this space. It is not uncommon. I was in the corporate world for a while, and corporate and legal nonetheless.
Okay.
So I was the only woman for a very long time. And then as a child, I was an athlete as a wrestler. And so all of my teammates were all men. So I feel like I have a really unique perspective and perception of men being in male-dominated spaces for so long. It has given me like a profound insight into the male psyche and really then like how to coexist without shifting the space, if that makes sense. Just to take off the masks
Yep.
really liberates the man beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Because as a society, we have been programmed, we have been trained through porn, through movies, through music, through, I mean, what have you. There's endless influence that is showing you what it means to be a man, and it's all performative and achievement focused. So what happens to the man who's not performing? What happens to the man who's not achieving? Or what happens to the man who has performed and achieved and still feels like he's so unfulfilled?
Right.
And that's the crisis, because there's no amount of achievement that will give you fulfillment if it's not aligned. And that is where just that awareness allows us to dig deeper and to figure out what the source is, what we're missing. And when you figure out what you're missing, you then know how to nourish yourself. Like we talked about earlier, the difference between having men's spaces in a brotherhood and one-on-one time between me and a client, it's a completely different need that's being filled. You know, I might have a man who's sitting in a session with me doing a meditation, you know, and I have had this happen where, you know, my hand is on their head and my other hand is on their chest, and they're going through a meditation, and I'm teaching them how to meditate and how to fully surrender into that space. And by offering that space, there's some resistance, and you can feel it in the body. And so what happens is that you just hold it patiently. And what I've experienced is when a man's nervous system resets, his whole body goes into convulsions. And more often than not, and I'm not kidding, my clients have been everywhere from 25-year-old athletes to 70-year-old men, white, black, brown, rappers, literally, you name it. And it's all the same. Because men are not given spaces to surrender. And I don't mean submit. I mean surrender, to let go, to have a space where you're not performing or achieving or having to earn love.
Well, and even in society today, as we view things, we look at it as, okay, we are warriors. We have to go out. We have to go do battle every day with society. We got to fight traffic. We got to fight the boss. We got to fight for all these different things. And so we have our masks on, and then we come home and, you know, there might be contention in the house or there might not. This is supposed to be your place of refuge. And there's not a place to open up and have that type of energy. And so even the concept of surrender to a warrior is a completely separate thing that, and almost to the point where I get it and I say, I'm surrendered all the time to situations. I'm surrendered that I don't know that this is, you know, the path that it should have gone down. I surrender to the idea that I don't know everything about this situation. I'm surrendered to this. I'm surrendered to that. But even that word, for me, as a man who views myself as a warrior, who has taken on all of these things, I still want to call it something else, because it's, from my viewpoint, surrender means that you give up. Surrender means that you've lost and you're giving up to other men. And surrender, what we're talking about in this context, I think it's a little bit more to the idea of I am okay with there being an outcome that I have not realized is the better path.
See, and I don't have that energy that you have on the word surrender. I just don't. And I found that when I'm in that place of surrender, like you were talking about earlier, sitting with whatever's happened, like if I have the notice of what I like to call a program, then I catch it when it happens, and now I have that notice, and now I have the opportunity to sit with it, to surrender to it. I've never thought about surrender in the same context of what, Eddie, what you just expressed around surrender means I'm giving up. No, this thing, for me, this thing is happening. It's fight or flight, right? But for me, it's not flight. It's I want to sit with this thing and understand what's going on for me and where it comes from and why I have that energy on it to begin with. I understand, and I would agree. I think that most men view it similar to you, in that surrender means I'm giving up. I quit. I failed. It's fine. All these negative I ams are surrounding that.
Right.
And I've never, since starting to do personal development work, it's flipped the script for me when it comes to that word. And now I revel in the opportunity to surrender to something that is come up for me.
Whenever there's a question, I always love to look up like the definition of the term to really get like into the context. And the psychological meaning of surrender is to let go of control, ego, or struggle.
Which are things that I absolutely agree with. And since doing the work, I agree with you. I no longer hold on to that context of surrender. However, to somebody who may not view it from that lens, or somebody that may not have been through the work and done the work and deep dived into things, the term surrender is just absolutely not a chance in hell am I a giver
I
up.
think it's used out of context these days. To sum up what you were saying, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, please.
Surrender, the absence of resistance.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. And I will say that I have one of my clients who he refers to the experience as humbling. When you are a powerful man in the community and you're out there doing the work and you're a leader and you're an achiever and you are a hustler and you are doing, it is a space to not.
It's a space to be instead of do.
Exactly. And that ease is a letting go. And it's not a space in my one-on-ones. This is a space where we are letting go of the ego. You can be as masculine, as strong, as powerful as you are. You don't have to be anything to receive love in my company. Because what I believe is my core purpose is unconditional love. And the path and how I got there was that I learned how much I hated myself.
Yeah.
Because I sabotaged the hell out of my life, out of my marriage, out of my world, out of my friendships. I just was reckless, like the Tasmanian devil, just going around and destroying everything that I'd spent my whole life building, everything that I'd ever wanted. All I wanted was a family. All I wanted was success. All I wanted was that beautiful Stepford world that I absolutely got. I sat in my closet with my Barbie dream house when I was 8 years old, and every last bit of it came true.
But you didn't feel deserving.
I didn't feel deserving, and also I built this perfect world that I had to be perfect to fit in. And when I stopped wanting to be perfect, when I stopped being capable of perfection, I was literally imploding. I got cancer.
Yeah.
Now, cancer wasn't the beginning of when my whole world started falling apart. I was imploding way before I got diagnosed, but I was ignoring all of those messages that said, you need to get out and you need to move on, because now this role that you're playing in this narrative that you've written, in this movie that you've been directing since you were 8 years old in your closet, has expired. And I was ignoring that nudge over and over and over again until finally I got knocked out. I went through treatment. I almost died after my third round of chemo with a blood clot. And when I was going into that surgery to get my port removed after I had a blood clot, I tested positive for COVID. And when I went into that surgery, I didn't think I was coming out. I had just lost a friend to a blood clot in a surgery about 6 months before that. And I thought, who do I call before I go in for surgery? And there was nobody. And it wasn't because I didn't have nobody around me. It was that emptiness.
He'd strategically cut out all in-depth connections, and there was no one to meet you at that level.
Other than my kids, and I'd already said goodbye.
I'm sure you've probably heard people talking about peptides. It piqued your interest, you looked into it, but you don't know what source to trust. A lot of this stuff is coming out of China. If you're looking for a good quality peptide that's made in the United States, go to helixpure.com.